On today's show, the verdict is in. I asked you guys who you guys wanted me to do next, and up next is Alabama A&M. So we'll talk about their year and the grade I give them. All that and more coming up next on Luke's Band Report. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, or whatever you're watching me right now. My name is Jay Luke, the owner and operator of the Passion Is Network. I'm also the host of Talk That Talk. You can get any of our merchandise at www.realtalkthattalk.com. All right, let's get into it. So first things first, I want to tell you guys how I came up to this point of going over with Alabama A&M. So I've received a couple of, possible people that we can possibly talk about. And someone said something to me, and I think it was Brother Moore. It could have been somebody else who was just saying, hey, why don't you just go in alphabetical order? So that's what I'm doing. And I kind of hit Alabama State first, which was out of the order. But the good thing was Alabama State is second to Alabama A&M. So A&M is actually the first one on the list, and then it's Alabama State. So I'm not that far off. So we'll do Alabama A&M first. Shout out to the staff over there at Alabama A&M. I think you guys are doing a really good job. Keep up the great work, but I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. First things first, drills. Where do I want to start with drills? Okay, so here's the reality. The reality is, I honestly think they sound the best on the field. If I compare their sound from the field to the stands, I think their field shows and their sound on the field to me is a lot better than what they sound like in the stands. I actually appreciate the intro that they do too. I think it's well arranged, it's well written for that program, and I don't think it's any time that I've heard them sound bad over the different shows that I've had the availability to listen to. I also appreciate their field shows for what they are. From what I can see, they don't really spread apart too much. Doing either like a 4-step spacing or anything like that, stretching the field from goalpost to goalpost. They really try to keep everything nice, tight, confined. And I appreciate that because that also brings the cohesion of the sound together. A couple of times where they do go facing the end zone, maybe not necessarily the end zone, but facing into the 50. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of that. Now, in my years of marching, I have done that. And when I was doing that, for me, I thought it was just part of the process. It's just what you do when you're talking about patterns in motion and so on and so forth. 9 times out of 10, you're going to do, obviously, when you're talking about that, you're going to do what squad A and squad B are doing. They're doing the exact same thing, which means they're going to be facing each other. But what ends up happening, in my opinion, is, again, if your band or if your sound doesn't project enough or have the sound enough to be able to carry that melodic sound even when you're facing inwards, then for me it just loses energy. So I think that when they open up from the front, I think it sounds really good. I think they do well. And then if they face inward or they face end zone, I think it to me diminishes the energy that they're bringing. Now, there are a bunch of times when they come out of that and full band face forwards, boom, good sound. I appreciate what they do as far as that's concerned. Now, again, I'm going to say the same thing about them that I said about Alabama State, in the sense that I really wish that they would utilize the flags more in the drill. There was this one drill I think I watched them do. I can't remember from what show it was, but they did like these 4 or 5 little diamond boxes, and they rotated the boxes. But then they had the flags. I think it was either on the outskirts or in the back, and they were marching towards, or they're marching down the sides to get to the front. My biggest problem with that is you could have actually used them in the side of those diamonds. You could have put 3, 3, 3 or whatever and have them twirling and adding more to the drill than just kind of throwing them to the side and just having them, twirl. Now, again, that could just be your style, or you just may not have been thinking about what to do with them. I don't know. But for me, when I look at that, that's kind of the thing, the thing that kind of stood out to me It's just the fact of the usage of the flags. Now, I will also say this: the flags I think are really good twirlers. When they come down to their feature, they do a really good job. So kudos to you guys. I think you guys, you young ladies, do a really good job of the work that you guys put in. As far as your drills are concerned. Now, one of the things that is bothering me, and I think I'm going to continue to see this as I continue to move forward, having a number of drum majors, and this isn't specific to A&M, but it's just something that I thought about even just thinking about Alabama State, and I know I've seen it on other bands going forward. Having, you know, three, four, five drum majors or whatever, and you're in the drill, but then the drum majors are not directly part of the drill. They're just kind of in the front, like doing 16, 32 count dance moves or whatever. I think for me, just kind of throws me off because I would like to see them be a part of the drill, whether they're leading a squad into a formation, whether if speaking of that, those 4 or 5 diamonds, if you're not going to have the flags in those diamonds, putting the drum majors in those spaces and doing some conducting or even doing those same 16 count moves, but having them be a part of the drill. And so I'm probably going to see that more as I go on towards this whole process. But that's one of the things that stood out to me. And I was just kind of like, I want to see them do more. I just want to see them do more. And then as far as the dancing divas are concerned, I think they have a really good field presence. And to be kind of honest, I'll save that. But no, their field presence is really good. I think that they do a great job for what they do. The energy that they bring on the field, I think, is great. So I really don't have any negative or positive feedback towards them. Timing generally is okay. I think the young lady that they had leading the squad is really, really good. And again, not a dancer. I just know what I see from what I can see. They do a good job on the field. Here's another problem that I have, not specific to Alabama A&M, but something that I just I have to bring up. Because Alabama didn't do this, but Alabama State did, and I just kind of wanted to bring this up. And I wanted to bring it up last time, but I didn't bring it up. Often imitated, never duplicated. The reason why I'm saying that is if you're doing a fast cadence, which we all know that there's a rattler from FAMU, rattler cadence, but then you follow with often imitated but never duplicated, but you're imitating the thing in which that came from another band program. To me, that's just weird. I don't know. It's weird to me. It's weird. Y'all don't shoot the messenger, okay? It's just weird to me because if you're doing a fast cadence that obviously came from another university, and yes, fine, you may be changing the cadence itself, but the move is exactly the same, right? And I think TSU does something different, if I'm not mistaken. Or they used to, or they still do. I don't know, but they don't necessarily do a fast cadence. They do kind of one of these little boom, 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 whatever. I don't know what it's called. But outside of that, if you're doing the fast cadence, it's directly from FAM, right? Like, let's just call a spade a spade. So to say often imitated, never duplicated doesn't feel right when you literally imitated that from someone else. So that's where I am with that. But again, that's not specific to Alabama A&M. I just want to make that clear because there are a lot of bands who do that. And I just be like, but that don't make no sense though. That's just weird to me. So, hey, take it for what it's worth. But anyway, they do the fast cadence joint too. Boom. And then another thing that I have to say, and I didn't mention this on last one, and I'm gonna mention it here. I didn't pay attention to the dance routines. I didn't, because I'm tired of them. I'm sick of dance routines, and that's from any school. That's not specific to A&M. I don't look at the dance routines because dance routines are boring. Prove me wrong. Dance routines now are boring. Boring. There's nothing about them that is exciting, especially if you're doing TikTok dances. If I can go on TikTok and I can scroll through and see 52 people doing the same dance, then it's not exciting to me to see 120 people doing the same dance, because if I just keep scrolling through TikTok, I can see 120 people do the same dance. And then the TikTok dances be phony anyway. They're just not exciting. So I get that it's part of the tradition, but I remember back in the day when I was in the band, Dr. Sanford used to be like, don't let them go get a hot dog on you. By the time the dance routine come up, I'm getting a hot dog, bro. So I'm asking of the possibility, and this is just me, of the possibility of bands this upcoming year to be creative and see if we can come up with something other than a dance routine, or come up with something that has dance routine in it but is encompassed with something else. I don't know, but dance routines ain't it. They're just not. I mean, you can come off the field with the sideline blowdown, which is cool, which is something else I wanted to bring up very quickly about the drills, and then we'll go to the next part of the topic, which is the stance. It was one drill that they did where they came off. I don't know what song they were playing. It felt like it was a Louisiana type song, and the Dancing Divas had their little pink joints, and they were doing. I like that song. That song was cool, and I like the energy that you guys gave on that song. I don't know if that's a school song or school spirit song, something that was relegated to the actual city or the state. I don't know, but I like it. It was cool for me, so I like that. Obviously, what you can probably tell by now is that I appreciate Alabama A&M's drills. So good job on the drills. Good job on drill planning. And I think that, again, from a sound perspective, I appreciate you all sound on the field a lot. I really do. So keep up the good work as far as the drills are concerned. Stands. Here we go. Stands to me leaves much to be desired. They just do. There are things that I see from you all that I appreciate, and there are some things that I can say that I would say that needs a little bit more work. First off, mellophones. Alabama State, it was the need of the trumpets being overpowered. Mellophones, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's they're being overpowered, or if it's and I'm not saying this in a negative way, so I don't want you guys to anybody to take offense. I don't know if it's a talent situation where you have some people who are not as strong as others and you're trying to work them up. But the mellophone section is probably the section that's hurting the worst. As I'm watching and I'm listening, the mellophone presence is just not there. There was one song that I saw or I listened to. I can't think of the name of the song right now. But it was one song where they were right in the meat of the horn, like right in the midsection of the horn. And that's when I heard them the most. And then they just kind of disappeared on every other song. I hear them a lot more when they're playing with the trumpets than when I don't hear them playing with the trumpets. And it's really just kind of like that middle section of horns. The outward sections of the horns was to me seems like the area in which the less confident in playing there was. And so I was missing those midtones a lot in a lot of the music. Like I was listening for them and it just wasn't as strong. So hopefully, with such a good season, and when I say good season, the strides that you guys made, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, if I'm not mistaken, this year that you guys did. I mean, because that performance, Macy's, I thought was really good. I really thoroughly enjoyed you all's Macy's performance. And I'm not even saying that as trying to be funny. I really did. I think the performance that you guys put on was really good. Sound was there. I liked the quick show that you guys put together. And as a person who performed in Macy's before, I understand the time constraints that you have, and then doing that in the weather that you're doing it in. So again, I really enjoyed your performance. I think you guys did a great job. But going back to what I was talking about as far as the stands, that to me, mellophones, I think is the section that's hurting the most. I think also that the trombone section is the most consistent section throughout the band. So good job, trombones. Keep it up. As a trumpet player, I would say that the trumpets are kind of hit and miss. They're more hits about 60-40% of the time. There are some times where there was some small intonation problems here or there. But from what I can hear, there are some good moments where you have some really bright spots where I think that you guys really do a good job of taking over some of the lead sections of the places that you guys have. But one of the things that I also was listening to as a screamer was some of the screaming that was happening. The one thing I'm going to say is if you're going to go for it, go for it. And if you're going to hit it, hit it. But if you're going to hang over, don't slide out of the note. Don't crack the note. When you hang over, specifically as long as on some of those songs that I kept hearing that you were hanging over for like a count, like a dotted quarter note for some god awful reason. I don't know why you need to hang over that long, but whatever. If I'm not going to tell you what to do inside of your program, but if the director lets you do it, then I'm not saying anything. All I'm going to say is if you're going to do it, move the air all the way to the end of the release. Okay. Don't die out on the end of the release and then you slide out of the note, or you're forcing it so hard that you overshoot the note. Okay. So move the air all the way to the release, fast air all the way to the end of release. That's what I would say. But a lot of the times, I'm not gonna say a lot, a couple of times what I kept hearing, some of those releases just weren't good from a screaming perspective. And then there are some times in there as far as the trumpet section would play, they were very open when they had some of the leading sections, and I could hear some pitches being missed. So those were the things that I listened to as far as the stand presence. What I did like though is the fact that you all song selection is really good to me. And I like the fact that the songs that you choose, because as somebody who is sitting down listening to two bands go back and forth, I don't want to hear the same songs and I don't want to hear the same types of songs. So I don't want to hear rap daddies all day. And sometimes I don't even want to hear music of this particular genre or generation sometimes. Sometimes I want to hear a 1980s tune. Sometimes I want to hear a 1990s tune. Sometimes I want to hear a random rock tune. I want to hear things that people aren't thinking of. And I appreciate the fact that you guys don't play everything that people are thinking of. So I appreciate that. Keep up the good work in that. I appreciate your song selection. Keep it going. By far, one of the things that just kept me listening is the fact that when I was listening to you all in Jackson or you all in Alabama, ASU, I'm listening like, okay, what are they gonna play next? What's the song that's coming up next? Now, I say all that to say, if y'all ski yeeted me one more time, y'all ski yeeted me a lot. Which goes to the next thing that I'm going to talk about. Y'all like the song. Cool. There's nothing wrong with liking the song. The problem that I have with that is in the level of eclecticness, and I don't even know if eclecticness is a word. It's not. I don't think so. But even in that, it's very obvious the music that the kids like and the music that the kids don't like. The energy is different per the song. And that happened more often than not. Whereas I'm looking and I'm listening and I'm watching you guys play certain things, and certain songs, it's kind of like you can see the shoulders are like kind of like this, like kind of turned over, and it's just kind of like I don't have the same bravado and the same energy in playing this song as I did in the Ski Yeets and other tunes that you guys played that were along those lines. So it's very obvious the energy that you guys put into it, and it displayed in the way that the song came out. And so I think, and this is not just relegated to A&M, but this is because I think this is something that happens in every university, unfortunately. As students, this is more of a student thing, not a director thing, because I don't think, this is me. Pride has to be something internally. You can, as a director, I can tell you about it. I can show you what it looks like, but it has to be something in you that a switch turns on and you say, I'm not going to allow us to fall to this level, or I'm not going to allow this to sound bad or whatever. And I'm saying all of that to say there's a level of pride that you have to have in every single song that you attempt. So that's why I say this part I wouldn't direct to the students. I mean, to the staff. I would direct this to the students, and not just of A&M, but every student. You're there regardless of why you're there, whether that's the school that you picked from the beginning, or that's the school you always wanted to go to, or they gave you a scholarship and you just there for the money. Whatever your reason is, you're there. So if you're there in everything that you do, make it the best. Anytime you pick up that instrument, I don't care if it's piccolo, clarinet, saxophone, tenor saxophone, whatever it is, you do it to the best of your ability, which means that if you're playing a song that you are not a fan of, you play the heck out of that song. Period. I don't care if you're a fan of it, because you want it to sound as best as you possibly can. I will tell you, as a Legion member, I could not stand playing my first, my last. And I will tell you that. I don't care what any Legion member says to me. I was not a fan of playing my first, my last. But you couldn't tell me I didn't play every single note. And you couldn't tell me I didn't play it with energy every single time. But that's what it is. You got to get out of your feelings sometime and do stuff for the betterment of the group. And when your body language easily shows that you are not into what you're doing, it will show in the product that you put out. And so with that being said, I think that this is kind of going back to the Ski Yeets. I liked when you guys played that. And I'm not even a fan of the song itself. I think the song is terrible. But I like the energy that you gave when you all played that. It's just that same energy didn't transfer to every song that you played. And I think that, for me, was the thing that was super noticeable, is the fact that some songs, few, but some songs had the Ski Yeet energy. Other songs had all right, we got to play it because we got to play it. Also, stand stuff. I like the fact that the flags actually were doing stuff in the stands, using flags. Now they were using their normal poles, which is, I guess, okay if you guys have room for it. But this is just a me thing. I'm a fan of swing flags in the stands just because it gives you more room to work. You can still have use of the flags while still having the opportunity for more mobility and more movement. And so that's why I'm a swing flag fan in the stands. But I still like the fact that you guys were in the stands and that you guys were doing routines with the flags in the stands. So great job. And then Dancing Divas, I'm gonna be honest, and this is just me, and I could be wrong. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong. I actually preferred you all's field presence more than your stand presence, and that's not to say that you guys were bad in the stands. It's just to say that for me, you guys captured my eye more on the field than you did in the stands. And so, and it's funny, you know, generally if I'm watching a band in the stands, I'm like, hey, the girls are doing this and they're, you know, it's catching my eye. It's eye catching. For me, it was just kind of like, oh, it looks nice. Cool. And then I was back to just kind of looking at the band. And so again, that's not to say that you guys are good or bad. I don't think you all are bad at all. I just think that your field presence to me was a lot more exciting than your stand presence. So that's kind of where I am with that. So yeah, that's the stands. Here we go. Total overall package and my final grade. Total overall package. First of all, I will say this. I think that the arrangements that they're letting out for that program, I like. Why do I like it? Because it's inherently them. I'm glad to hear programs that arrange for their programs, specifically for their programs, and not trying to sound like anybody else. And anybody can try to lie and say, well, no, this band don't sound like this band. No, listen to me. So a lot of bands, I ain't gonna say most, a lot of bands, specifically HBCUs now, are trying to sound like each other. You can try to sugarcoat it as much as you want to and try to make as many lies as you want to try to figure out. A lot of bands are trying to sound like each other. And I would say rightfully so, but I kind of don't say rightfully so. But a lot of bands are trying to sound like each other because they want to be popular. They want to be in the know. They want to be talked about. And in order to do that, you got to kind of play the game. But me being who I am, I'm not always a play the game person. Sometimes you can be great at what you do, but capitalize off of what you do and make what you do dope. And so what I appreciate is that from an arranging standpoint, they do who they are. Their arrangements are who they are, and it's cool. I think the problem that hurts their arrangements, again, is that mellophone section. I think, from a trombone standpoint, euphonium standpoint, all the rest of the sections, I think they're doing their job. They're holding their weight. But I think that mellophone sound is really kind of what is missing inside of all of that. And so, but I appreciate what they do from an arrangement standpoint. Total stand energy. I can be very honest in saying that I appreciate them more on the field than the stands. Their stands presence leaves more to be desired, in my opinion. And that is only because I'm looking at it from an energy standpoint. There are sometimes they had some really big games this year against some really good, against some good bands. And I was, them in Valley, Valley was bigger, obviously, this year. Them in Alabama State, which they do, that's a normal thing for them. Them in Jackson, I thought, all of these were decent battles or decent, games that they played, but I just felt like their energy just was not the same as the opposing group sometimes, or even just being in that battle, position. To me, that it just didn't feel like they were always battle ready. They were just like gung ho, kill an ant with a sledgehammer kind of mentality. It kind of felt like, all right, we here, let's get this over with, and again, I'm not saying that to say that was the mentality. I'm just saying that that's the energy that I kind of felt coming off of them. I appreciate who they are on the field, and I think that their field presence is really good. I would definitely like to see a lot more utilization of the flags in the drill. But my grade overall, C+, above average. I don't think that's bad. I think they just have these things to work on, energy things to work on. And I think that overall, I think that'll put them in a position. And I'm not saying that they're not growing. I always have to preface this because people be like, I'm hating. I'm not hating. I'm just saying And I'm not saying that you all aren't growing. I'm just saying I think that'll put you guys in a position to where there's room for growth. I'll put it that way. There's room for growth, and to the point to where that energy has to change in the stands. Mellophone section has to get stronger. All of these different things, I think, kind of got to that score. And so I think it's a C+. You're on your way to a B, which I think is great. I say keep up the good work, the staff that you guys are doing. I don't think the staff is doing anything bad at all. Let me put that out there. I think that now it's an idea and the thought process of what the student wants to produce. It's almost like basketball. Like sometimes we blame the coaches. LeBron. Sometimes we blame the coaches for what's happening, with the team. And yes, there are things that you can say the coaches are in control of, but those dudes are the dudes out there playing. Coach can call a set, but the person on the court has to be the one to either A, run the set, or make the best decision, especially if you're a leader on it. Make the best decision for that team in that time. So C+, I'm sticking to it. It is what it is. But you guys tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm off. What would you guys give what would you guys give Alabama A&M, the marching maroon and white? What would you give them? What would your grade be? What are your thoughts on what I talked about? Whether it's on the drills or whether it's on the stands or the total package, you guys leave it in the comments. I can't wait to see what you guys have to say. Other than that, next up on this thing will be Albany State. Hey, I'm going down alphabetical order. Now, obviously, some of them will be skipped because some of them either don't have bands or don't have enough stuff out there for me to talk about. But we'll see. Other than that, man, I appreciate you guys for watching. I thank you guys for listening. Also, please make sure you like and subscribe, send this information out, and I will see you all on next week.